Welcome back to the Labor Lounge podcast where we talk about current events and some more ish. I appreciate everybody for continuing to rock with the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share with a friend if you're new to the channel. All right, so we got a question that we want to ask, right? Should teachers be carrying handguns in school? Um, we have a lieutenant governor who's saying that they want to see more of this inside the schools, and they're even offering up to a $10,000 stipend for teachers who are willing to do so. So I think this is interesting, right? I understand the reason behind doing this. They feel like this will be good. This will help students stay safe in school, or at least deter people who might want to come up in the school and start acting stupid. But with that being said, I also have a concern about the mental health of the people that's going to actually be carrying guns in school. So I'm kind of torn with this one. I don't know if this came across my desk how I would vote for it. So let's look at a couple reports here from two different sources. Let's see the information that they have for us regarding this situation, and then we come back and we talk about it.
Georgia's lieutenant governor wants to see more teachers with guns in schools. The plan would expand an existing state law and offer educators who pass a training program a $10,000 yearly stipend. Channel 2's Richard Elliott is live in Dekalb County. And Richard, the state's Teachers Association is calling this plan horrific.
Yeah, the Georgia Association of Educators, which represents thousands of teachers across Georgia, they really hate this plan. But the lawmakers supporting it insist it is a valid way to keep classrooms and schools safe, particularly in rural counties. The images from Uvalde, Texas remain seared in our minds. 19 students and teachers gunned down inside their elementary school. At a Barrow County elementary school Wednesday, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones says he doesn't want to see that here.
It's becoming more and more dangerous, and schools, sad to say, schools have become a target.
So Jones and other Republican lawmakers plan to introduce legislation to bolster school security, including by expanding access to state grants for security officers. But they also want to expand an existing Georgia law, which allows for specially screened and trained teachers to have firearms inside their classrooms. Under this plan, the state would offer them a $10,000 yearly stipend and offer to attract more to this program. But none of this would happen, he says, without local school board's approval.
The school board would have to approve it, and the school board would obviously select who they would want, you assume, because we're not going to do anything without school board approval.
My initial reaction is horrified.
Georgia Association of Educators President Lisa Morgan thinks arming teachers is a terrible idea and an impractical one. She says the state shouldn't add security guard to a list of responsibilities teachers already have.
There's a myriad of issues with this proposal that do not look at the reality of what would happen in these instances.
I kind of agree with what she's saying when they say it shouldn't be one of the things to add to the list of responsibilities. Just off of my experience alone, I feel the shortage of teachers being available for these schools. I feel the impact of teachers having to do multiple things just because things don't move as smooth as they normally would at different points in my life. All these things where teachers are quitting their jobs, teachers are unhappy with their jobs, and now we're actually going to try to entice teachers to carry a weapon in the school by offering the $10,000 stipend. I mean, that's cool. But at the end of the day, these teachers already have a lot on their plate. So are they going to have the mental capacity to go ahead and be able to do what's right if they have a weapon inside the school? Now, they did mention that they're going to go through special screening, which I think is the proper thing to do, because we really got to understand where the teacher's mental health is at before we just say, okay, yeah, they're the ones carrying a gun in school. But then you also got to look at what happens if a teacher gets overpowered, right? It's just a lot. It's a lot of things that you have to consider before you really let this thing fly. So I like the fact that they say they're not going to move unless the school board approves of it. I think you have to have everybody on board, especially the people that's going to really be responsible for dealing with this. Mm-hmm. Would I be safe when my kids going to school and the teacher has a gun? I mean, I don't know. To answer you honestly, I don't know. At this particular moment, I really don't think so. So this is the first report where, the lieutenant governor in DeKalb County, that's what they're talking about, He's saying that teachers need to be armed in schools, and this is their plan to curb some of the violence that we've seen at schools. I mean, we've heard many instances of just this type of violence, and schools have become a target. Why? I don't know, but people think that this is the best way to move. They're going into schools and they're actually harming, and age limit has no bearing because one of them was at an elementary school. Terrible, terrible stuff. So there's another news report where we have a couple of people like myself, parents of the community, who are actually talking about this situation. So let's hear what they got to say about it real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
We turn now to the proposal to pay teachers to carry guns at school. Supporters say it'll make classrooms safer.
But critics say they worry it could make tense situations even more dangerous. Fox 5's Christopher King is in Midtown Atlanta tonight. Christopher, this bill has some very powerful supporters.
Well, Russ and Courtney, yes, it does. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones backs the bill. It would pay teachers $10,000 to voluntarily carry a gun into school.
So real quick, and I might have heard that earlier, but it's voluntary for teachers to want to do this. So the teachers who want to volunteer to do this, okay, so now they go in knowing that they're going to have this additional responsibility. So it's not like it's being forced onto the teachers to actually be able to do this.
I think it's a bad idea.
Well, Gina Montgomery hates a proposal to place guns in the hands of teachers in Georgia schools.
Having individuals carry handguns, I don't think that'll make it any much safer than it is.
State Senator Clint Dixon, a Republican, introduced a bill that would offer teachers a stipend of $10,000 a year to voluntarily take firearms courses and carry guns in schools. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones says the legislation would make classrooms safer.
Even if you take all the courses that you need to take and hung at safety and everything, it's still the individual's decision when something happens, how they handle things. And you can't say a class will teach you that.
Montgomery's son is in the 11th grade here at Midtown High School. She worries the proposal actually would put his life at risk.
You might feel that something's threatening to you, and it might not be threatening. You kill a student, then what? And you kill my child. Then what?
Under the proposal, school systems would have to approve a gun training program before they could let teachers carry a firearm. The lieutenant governor says he'd also push for more funding for public safety officers.
We need it. We need it.
Jordan Tarver is a teacher and a baseball coach. He supports the bill as long as educators with cooler heads get properly trained and armed.
It definitely will improve school safety. If it's in the hands of the right people, man, I think it all can help the school safety.
Okay, so we got two differences of opinions. You have a mother who has an 11th grader that goes to this particular school. She don't agree with the bill, right? And she made a valid point. So, what's uncomfortable to certain individuals, right? What if there's a situation where you feel uncomfortable in that's not uncomfortable to somebody else, and you make a mistake and shoot a student? And she referenced her son. What if you shoot my son? That is a valid point because, again, it has to be people who understand the environment that they're in, and they're just not reacting just because something kind of feels unsafe. And then let's fast forward to the gentleman that's on the screen right now who says that they need that. He said something that's key. The staff that has cooler heads. Now, that sounds great until that staff don't have a cool head. Everybody has a breaking point. We don't know what that breaking point is. I could think about times where I was in school and teachers who was the most cool, calm, and collected people, they lose their cool. And, their level of snapping can be different from other people's level of snapping, but even the teacher that snaps that reaches that point, they're thinking outside of their normal mind. So it's all stuff to be considered. If this is something that is going to take effect, they got to make sure that everybody's in lockstep with it, because it's a huge decision. You're putting a weapon inside the school, and let's not negate the fact that if you have this gun in school, I haven't heard anybody say how it could be carried. It might not be that far along in the process, but is it going to be held on the hip of the teacher? Is it going to be in a lockbox somewhere where the teacher has access to it? How many people are going to have access to the weapon? Like, what are those details that are going to come out? Because all that plays a part. right now at this particular moment, if I had to say I wanted a teacher in my kid's school to carry a weapon because that was going to make them feel safe, I would. I don't think I'm for the bill at this particular point in moment. But I've been fortunate too. I haven't had situations like others have had. Um, so I can understand why certain people think that this is something that's very necessary. So, I think there's a need for something, whether it's increased security. That could be police officers off duty patrolling the school, or maybe even regular city officials that are actually patrolling the school. The police themselves, because shoot, we pay enough taxes, they can get out there and they can patrol the schools and they can do what it is that they got to do. But again, we have shortage of police officers in certain areas too. So we just got a lot of compounding issues that that we really have to consider. Are the teachers the right people to carry the weapons? I don't know. But I do like the fact that they at least have something on the table and they realize that we got an issue, and we're brainstorming on how we can get in front of this thing. So I can't give them credit for that.
Congresswoman Lucy McBath put out a statement. She's a Democrat. She says, quote, Georgia teachers should be armed with books and supplies, not guns. Burt Jones is furthering his extremist agenda at the expense of our kids. Those are her words, not ours.
So what's on the table and what's being proposed is that teachers should be carrying weapons in school. This is intended to make sure the school is safe. Is this a good idea? Honestly, I told you earlier in the video, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think I'm for this at this particular point right now. But again, I have been fortunate. I haven't had some of the issues that others have experienced with some of these things. But my main concern is the mental health of the teachers themselves. Excuse me. Through my experience, these teachers are going through some of the very issues that we like to joke about online, right? We talk about them being having attention problems. We talk about them having depression problems. We talk about, just a multitude of things, right? The mental health of people is an issue. So, who's to say that the person that we're going to allow to carry a weapon in school is in the right frame of mind? Do we have tests that's really going to give us accurate information that says that they can take on this additional responsibility? Now, I can see we have teachers who come about that say, oh my goodness, I want to do this. I want to be there to step up for the kids. But all they're looking at is that additional $10,000 stipend. The young lady said, what happens in a real life scenario? No class is going to teach you how to handle that. They can prepare you as much as they can, but when the heat turns up and it's time to go into action and that heart stops beating and your palms get sweaty, how are you going to react, right? And in what situations are you going to react in this manner? You have students who can be difficult to deal with, right? So who's to say you're not going to get mad at a student? Yeah, we need the staff who has a level head. Everybody has a breaking point. You don't know what people are going through at home, so you open up the door to a lot of different issues. It's not just carrying a gun in school and it's a safety precaution to make people think twice about coming up into the school. You got to consider a lot of different things. As a parent, I'm not comfortable with it just because I kind of see some of the issues that these teachers are going through, being short staffed, they're overworked. You got teachers who are covering multiple classes. Don't ask me why. And this is this is something I was just talking about recently. My kids, elementary, middle, have substitutes every day. Every day they have substitutes. So not what happens when the teacher's out sick that's supposed to have the weapon, right? So the school's just uncovered for that day. So all I'm saying is there's a lot of things to consider, right? Not right, not wrong. It's just let's iron out some of these facts. Let's look at this thing from multiple angles and let's make the right decision for the kids. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who have the most at stake. That they're for education. Like they said, they need to be armed with books. I get that. But how are we gonna impact the outside forces that come in that tears up the whole hygiene of the system? So let me know what y'all think about this. Do you think teachers should be carrying weapons in school? Do you think we should keep the weapons outside of the school as much as possible? Or do you think we just need to leave these into the hands of the people that are actually trained to do what they're supposed to be doing? Leave it in the comments. let me know. I think this is a great conversation. As a parent, I'm definitely going to be involved in it. So let's chop it up. Until next time, I'm out.